All right, what's up, y'all? Welcome to episode 7. Today we have one of our sponsors, partners on today. We have Marty Frascogna, the co-founder of Nuke Hydration. Just want to say thanks for getting on with us. Thanks for all your help with the podcast. And then, but what we wanted to do is bridge the gap between that's just somebody that they're advertising on the podcast and be like, no, this is somebody that we believe in, a product we really believe in, and kind of let you tell the story of Nuke. So again, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess let's start with who is Marty, right? Like where'd you grow up, sports you played, kind of your journey up until Nuke thought process.
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that because I'm sure my kids would have a different answer of who is Marty. And my wife would probably have a different answer too. No, I grew up in Jackson, Mississippi. I went to high school at Jackson Prep for anybody in the local area. Grew up in a very kind of active sports family. So I got an older brother and an older sister. We all played college sports. I took my college sports to Millsaps College, and it was a kick returner and defensive back. My sister ran college track and then also cheered. And then I have an older brother who was a wide receiver at Notre Dame. So we all kind of had the college sports background. Sports is kind of in the bloodline and in the DNA. So it's always been my first love. After college, I kind of wanted to stay doing active things. So I kind of miss football at the time, but I was okay giving it up. But I missed competition and I always just kind of stayed with something really competitive. And that just continued all the way through life and ultimately ended up going to law school. I went off for a little while, went to graduate school at DePaul University and then came back to Mississippi College for law school. And then worked as an attorney in the entertainment industry, primarily in the music industry for 17 years. So I'm not practicing. I've just taken a leave because of this new project, which kind of started 18 months ago or so.
Yeah. So that's a big change going from like a law to like, hey, let's get this business up and running, especially in like a different space.
Yeah, no, this was, I haven't worked in the beverage industry, so I'll just be blunt about that. So
Yeah.
no, I really enjoyed the music industry. That has been what I have understood for 17 years. But I mean, I love sports, like everything about it. Like I love youth sports. I love coaching. I mean, that would be my dream job is coaching. So we have 2 kids. We have a 14-year-old named Frank and an 11-year-old named Birdie. And our weekends are pretty much like most parents. Like we're out at fields and we're at tournaments, we're traveling constantly. And that was kind of the first intersection of how this project grew. I think it was just, that was the seed. And then how we got here, everybody's kind of got a different story of how Nuke got started, but it really, I wanted to do an Ironman race before I turned 40. I'm 47, so I didn't do it before 40, but at 45, I kind of had enough. It was like, all right, I can push this off another year. So 45 was like, I'm in, I'm committed. And for anybody who's ever done that race or familiar with that race, you have to go all in from a nutrition perspective, just from a training perspective. It takes over your life.
Yeah, it's
And I had a nutrition coach because I needed help managing all of that. And it was the first really long bike ride. I think I had a 100-mile bike ride. And she asked me, hey, what's your hydration plan? And, I said, look, I've got some sports drinks, got a couple sports drinks. I got, 60 ounces of water, whatever I kind of announced. And I just remember she snot laughed on the call, like thought it was hilarious what my plan was. And I was so confused of like, where am I going wrong? This sounds perfect. And sure enough, like mile 50, I'm falling apart. Like my body feels like it's in cement. So I go back home afterwards and I call her and she was like, flip over your sports drink and read the nutritional panel out loud to me and tell me the ingredients. And I'm doing it. And as I'm saying it, I already know her point. And I've been blindly drinking them for years, sports drinks. We still drink them. So this is not like this is, the extreme, fairly healthy household. We try to eat clean, but I realized there was really no nutritional value in what I was hydrating with, and then continue that with our kids. we would go to Costco or, Sam's and pick up a bunch of sports drinks for the weekend. And then we'd watch all these kids just pounding them at games.
Smoke them.
And at that point, like, we realized, oh, this is the equivalent of eating a bag of Skittles before you go out onto the field. And it's filled with dyes and all of these artificial sweeteners and just garbage, like literal garbage.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where Nuke was born, was this one love for sport. And my wife shares the same love for sport. And then just realizing I'd just doing something and then pass this on to my kids, and everybody does it, just pass it on. So we kind of went on this mission of, surely there's a clean sports drink on the market. And no one would think that there's a clean sports drink. So I think the first stop is you kind of go to Whole Foods, like, oh, what does Whole Foods have? They sell clean stuff. And then you realize, whoa, they don't really have anything. And wow, they don't even sell the major sports drinks because they're not Whole Foods compliant because of all the junk in it. So it became a mission, and it was just like, how do we do this in our own house and give our kids something better? And then we'd start talking to parents, and they would say, oh, we make our own electrolyte drink. So we put it in, a Powerade bottle or a Gatorade bottle, whatever it is. So our kids aren't made fun of that we're making our own electrolyte drinks. And this became way too common. We didn't realize how common it was. And then fast forward, we started running into people that are like, hey, if you really want to explore this, we may be interested in investing. So there was a threshold of pain for me that I just couldn't keep funding this myself.
Right. Yeah.
And it got to the point that we have a really good core group of people working on this project, and then a core group of investors that have been amazing. So 18 months after we kind of started this concept, Nuke Hydration was born. And then we now have bottles in hand. We have our initial flavor, which is a lemon lime called Lime Time. And we have some other flavors that we'll be rolling out probably in the coming months. Feels like everybody's excited about that because Lime Time seems to be working. Yeah.
Yeah.
I gave a long-winded answer, Coach. I apologize.
No, you're good. And that's what, me and you had talked about, of like building your own hydration drink, right? Like me and you talked about it. It's like, that's what I do over the summer, being outside and coaching and everything. I like fill this big old jug up, throw some salt in there, throw some citrus in there, shake it up, and just sip out of it through the day. But because there's not something on the market that you're like, I can go in and grab this and feel good about the ingredients. And no, I'm not, like you said, it's a bag of Skittles. Like most sports drinks are like sugar heavy, which at times isn't terrible, right? Like, but if you're just looking for a hydration drink,
having some sugar is good. The volume of sugar that's with a lot of the sports drinks is not good.
Yeah.
So Nuke has sugar in it, but our sugar comes from sugar cane, period. I think there's only 6 grams of sugar. And look, this wasn't something that, we all just started making in our bathtub of like, what should we put in here? Some salt, some sugar.
Yeah.
I mean, there was science behind everything that we were doing, and meeting with nutritionists and doctors. And, for this, everything is I'm drinking it right now. It is delicious. Like we drink it constantly.
Yeah.
But this was formulated for like youth athletes. I mean, because we want to do something better for our kids. And so all the specific sodium and the sugars, this is for a high level, high performing, goal oriented youth athlete and families that kind of care about, health as well. So we're not for everybody, and we're not trying to be for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
However, this is something we just saw the void on the youth sports market. We still drink this as adults. I mean, it's way better than the alternatives that are out there.
Sure. My first case, I smoked through the first case.
Thank you for that. Yeah, and you gotta have it cold, and or you gotta have it over ice. That's it. It hits perfect.
So with the nutrition, kind of the development of the product, and you mentioned it, and this is something we haven't talked about. What did that process look like? You have this idea of, hey, I want to do this, and you're like, okay, I can't make it in my bathtub, like you said. How do we start formulating this in a way that is actually beneficial? What did that process look like? I guess the research and development part of it.
It was a lot. I mean, so this was that was the point that I was almost pulling the plug, because this was a transition from my legal career to let's develop a beverage. And I had no idea of the steps involved. So I think where we started with a company called Drink Labs, which was out of California. And basically, you give them a flavor profile that you want them to try to mimic in some fashion, and they reverse engineer it. But when they reverse engineer it, you kind of go the same route as whatever flavor profile you gave them. So if something already exists on the market and it's got artificial dyes, they're going to do the same thing. We wanted everything to be extremely clean. The name Nuke actually stands for nothing unnecessary, keep the energy. So the nothing unnecessary, everything in it had to serve a purpose. So every
Mhm.
ingredient in here, so when we kept going through the process, there was two things. One, you got to narrow down a taste, and you got to narrow down a taste that like, I like it, but my kids may hate it and kids may hate it. You know, my friends,
Yeah.
my kids' friends may hate it. So we did a lot of kind of group testing, and we would have a bunch of kids over at our house, and we would, take Gatorades or Powerades in Prime, and we would give them kind of this blind taste test of like, hey,
Mhm.
which one do you like? And it was interesting because everybody that would give something a 10, another kid would give it a 1. It was like these extremes. So
Yeah.
we figured out, we're like, okay, you never want to be a 10.
Mhm. Yeah. That's a good point. Mhm.
Taste it again, they'd be like, "Oh, I give it a 9," because the
Mhm.
bottle was moving the needle for them. So we had 2 things in mind when we went into formulation. One, nothing unnecessary. Everything in the bottle had to be necessary. So we went through like 6 months of back and forth, and Drink Labs would send
Jeez.
us little samples and things like that. We would taste it with a bunch of people. We'd send our notes back. It got to the point that a team of 4 of us, we had to go to California because, right, it's too much back and forth. We're ready
Yep.
to hit this and go to market. So we spent about 12 hours one day at Drink Labs, and it's super cool. You sit there, they bring you samples, see all the ingredients, if it's Whole Foods compliant, organic, anything. And you'll come back and they'll say, okay, what'd you think of it? And we would analyze everything in there. Okay, why do we have this green, why do we have this kind of green coloring? Oh, that's from the sea kelp. Okay, does sea kelp serve any purpose whatsoever? No, it's just for, you can get green. Done, get rid of the sea kelp. So then you would try it and you would be able to tell, is there any difference at all by removing the sea kelp? So we went through that for 12 hours and finally got down to, all right, we're about at 8 ingredients. And we were all kind of feeling pretty good about it, but we were never aligned on like the final taste. And I think we made one tweak. They brought it to us, and it was the only one we all had. And we all looked at each other. We're like, bro, that's so good. That's like my favorite one. And everybody felt the same way. So then you start breaking down the ingredients. We felt super good about the ingredient list. If you're using lemon juice and lime juice as one ingredient, which I tend to do because it's just a juice. We're at 7 ingredients, and it's all clean stuff that serves a purpose. So that was the process. We also had the bottle process because we're like, okay, well, this tastes great, but if kids aren't drawn to the bottle, this ain't gonna sell. So we went back to, look, these are for youth athletes. They need to weigh in on this bottle. They need to tell us what's cool. And we realize in the market right now, everything's this, bright red or bright pink or bright blue. So we went a total different route. For the Lime Time
Yeah.
bottle, we are a matte navy blue, using the kind of pops of neon just to
Mhm.
indicate the flavor. But kids really took to this. And we realized
Cool.
it almost had like a cool factor of them walking around drinking out of the matte blue bottle as
Yeah.
opposed to walking around with like, this explosion of neon. So we knew
Mhm.
we were kind of on to something with that.
Yeah.
So I gave a very long win. That's how
No,
we
you're
got to the
good.
formula. That's how we got to the
I
bottle.
love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And that's something, that like I would have never thought about, but you do see like, hey, every sports drink right now is like, I always think of it with supplements, right? Like supplements, I
Yeah.
tell the kids all the time, if it looks like they're trying to get your attention, you probably need to look at the ingredients because there's something
Yeah.
in there that they're like, no, just buy it, just buy it, just buy it. Because you look at all
Sure.
the clean supplements out there, it's boring packaging, but like there's something that grabs you. And so it's the same, almost like a separator for y'all of like, yes, the bottle is cool, it catches your eye, but it's completely
Yeah.
different than all the things that are trying to get you to buy it.
I'm not knocking any sports drink because look, there's some giants out there that established the market, but we wanted to be
Hmm.
very intentional on doing a
Yep.
couple of things differently. And it's funny, not that we led this charge, because I think people just came more dialed into like, what are we consuming? But a lot of the big brands are now going to like 75% less sugar. And to me, I'm like, well, what's that
Yeah.
telling you that they've been doing for 30 years? It's just like,
Yeah.
now they're going 75% less sugar, but we all were just thinking this was healthy to begin with. So you've seen a shift, but we just wanted to come from jump. Like,
Hmm.
we feel good about what we're doing. Like, we feel good about giving this to our own kids. And
Hmm.
it's typically things you can find in your own pantry. But we
Yeah.
wanted to do two things differently. We wanted to enter the market of, hey, we're not making tweaks to become healthy. We're going to be healthy from jump. So that was kind of number one. Number two was these huge brands. And again, they've done a phenomenal job. All they can do is align with superstar athletes. That's it. So it makes no sense to align with George Adams in Madison,
Yeah.
Mississippi right now, or
Right.
the 14-year-old George Adams in, Arizona,
Yeah.
but we want to, because
Sure.
this is for kids. This is for youth athletes. So we wanted to come out and kind of glorify the youth athlete. And we wanted to build all of our marketing around the youth athletes. And people are like, are you doing NIL deals? No, we're not doing NIL deals. I mean, that's a whole
Hmm.
different rant
Ball
at
game.
different
Yeah.
time. But that is something we want to align with these kids, and we want them to feel ownership in it. So all of our advertising campaign right now that you'll see, it's kids in three core areas, because our primary focus, without going into the whole startup world, was we wanted to control where we were doing this from jump. And we focused on Birmingham, Nashville, and then certain pockets of Mississippi, because this is where we live. But it's something we wanted to control those areas, tweak the concept, see if it works. If the model works, then we will expand into other areas. So that's not to say people in Virginia aren't buying this. We're just
Hmm.
not actively promoting in these areas. But with our core markets, everything you see that we have put out, it's all local kids. Like,
Hmm.
it's
Yeah.
local photo shoots, it's kids in Nashville, it's kids in Birmingham, it's kids in the Madison area. They love it because they feel like they're involved in this entire campaign, which they are. The whole thing
Yeah.
is built around them. That's something the bigger brands can't do. So we wanted to be
Yeah.
extremely intentional with that.
Yeah, so on that, right, you're using these like, and it's geared that way, like you said, like that's who the drink is meant for, but you're
Yeah.
using these kids and you're calling it freak athlete, right?
Yeah. So this was an interesting campaign. Yeah, freak is a play on words. It's Freek. And we realized when we did this, we wanted to be hyper local. So we put something together. We're like, hey, have the freak athlete. And the freak athletes aren't necessarily the best, although some of them are just off the charts in what they've accomplished. Not necessarily the best. They're just that kid that everybody's like, they respect them. They're the first one at practice, the last one to leave. They're the good teammate. They care about their health. There's just a package of things that kid would bring to the table. And we put together something on our website, Nuke Hydration. Nuke is Nuke, hydration.com. And we're like, let's put together a freak application and let's see where this goes. And I honestly thought we'd probably get like 10 applicants, 12 applicants, because we didn't push anything, or the floodgates would open. and the floodgates open. So after a
Yeah.
couple of weeks, we had 100 something applications from all over the country, and all these kids were doing,
Jeez.
unbelievable athletes from everywhere. But it got to the point where it was like, okay, we have to step away from this, because I would run into like my son's friends. They'd be like, Mr. Marty, you going to choose me to be a freak? And I'm like, nope, I'm not a part of this process at all. Like I've got to be
Yeah.
removed.
Yeah.
So we created a panel to kind of evaluate these applicants when they came in. And this was a test balloon of just like, hey, how is this going to go? And when we're working with these kids, what does that mean? And we really want to form a partnership with the athletes of like, hey, you may be a tennis player and sometimes you don't have money to go compete in a Birmingham tournament, or you need help with fundraising, or you need help with exposure, or hey, you need hydration for that tournament. We take each athlete and we look at them completely different of what can we do to help get you to where you have established goals and what you want to do as a youth athlete. And we will be your corporate partner in whatever that means. Some people just want more exposure. Some people need help with fundraising and all those. So we came up with this. The panel established 12 freak athletes, which we've been kind of rolling out over the course of a couple of weeks. But it's been a real interesting concept too, because not to say the kids that didn't get the freak athlete weren't deserving. I mean, honestly, I'm looking at some of these applications when they came through, and I'm like, what? Who is this kid? I mean, just my mind was blown. But it was one of those, we wanted to diversify the sport. We wanted to diversify the age and kind of show the range of like, it doesn't matter if you're an 8-year-old rec soccer player in Birmingham, you can get this.
Mhm.
Or you can be a college track star, you can get this too. And it was to kind of show the range of like, this is for everybody. And these are the things that you can build up to. We have created what I like to say a Heisman house. Like the freak athletes, that's their fraternity. Like it's theirs. Like we don't do anything with it, but we want them interacting. We want them supporting each other. And then when we're trying to look at new freak athletes and expanding the region and the footprint, which we'll do in the next couple of months, it's ultimately going to be decided by the 12 current freak athletes.
Yeah,
This,
that's
this
cool.
isn't our campaign. This is just like, this is for you guys. Like keep
Mhm.
building off of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I answered it correctly
No,
or what
that's
you were
perfect.
asking, but it's been a fun kind of side campaign to the drink.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
different, and like you said, it gives a little bit more of a, hey, you don't have to be the 5-star, like we're trying to get huge and sign this huge NIL and blah
Yeah.
blah blah. It's like, now who are the kids that we want to put our name on as Nuke, right? Like who are the
Yeah.
kids you guys want to put your name on and be like, yeah, that's who we want.
Yeah. Well, when we first did it, I think most people were like, they thought it was this huge NIL deal. We're like, we're already
Sure.
not the right partner for you.
Yeah.
So if your approach is, hey, I'm getting NIL dollars next, like that's not, we're trying to do this correctly and I won't go off on this whole thing, but NIL to me, it got away from the original intent. So this is something in the way that we want to bring it back to maybe how this should have been established at the beginning. And again, it's not an NIL deal, but it's one we can establish cool, unique relationships with certain kids.
Yeah.
And that's something that we're trying to build off of here.
Yeah. No, and so that's it's a super cool, because not those other companies, like you said, they can't do it. They can't say like, hey, we're gonna go like true grassroots and build it up. And then through that process, we're just gonna kind of see what happens.
Yeah, it's too strange of a pivot if they do it now. Like it doesn't work.
Hmm.
And it doesn't feel authentic even if they do it.
Yeah.
Oh, they could establish it, but I think there's no like people would be like, "What?" Like all of a sudden you're aligning with kids in Baton Rouge and
Yeah.
Arkansas. Wow, that doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense. That's a huge pivot from what they've been doing. Yeah.
Yeah. So from your first bottles in hand, right? We get our pallets, we get everything in there at Nuke, and you're like, we are rolling. Like bottles are out the door. And let's say a year from now, like what does Nuke look like a year from now? Maybe like a year kind of outlook, and then maybe like a
Yeah.
ultimate outlook of what this Nuke can be.
That's an interesting question. So if it turns out when you when we did the bottles in my brain. I'm like, okay, we're going to have 38,000 bottles on an initial run. We'll keep that in our garage and maybe like, our detached home studio. 38,000 bottles is so many bottles when you see it. You're like, what? It's massive. 38,000 bottles snowballed into, wait a second, we need a warehouse because this is a lot of product. And we started off selling something that was called Rookie Season Club. It was before we ever even had the drink in hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we sold subscription services. And it was one, I think we were like, let's see how this goes. I really don't know if people are going to buy something they've never tasted and they've never even held a bottle and it's not even here. So we did okay on the Rookie Season Club subscription service, given the fact we didn't even have product. Then when we get the product, first step was like fulfilling all those past orders and the subscription. And we have not lost any subscribers after
awesome.
5 weeks now, and we've only gained. And then,
Cool.
so I think the volume that we have been moving has been surprising to me. Others on the team would be like, dude, you're crazy. Like I saw it going this way, but it's been surprising to me. So I've had to change my mindset. I'm the slow guy on the team. This
Yeah.
is where the attorney comes in, where it's like, I've got to overanalyze everything and I just move slow. So I've had to shift my mindset of like, okay, we have another flavor in the holster and it's delicious. It is like almost like a tropical orange
Okay.
that we've been working on. That to me was like, hey, maybe we'll release that in a year if Nuke's working. And I think we're at the point now where it's like, okay, Nuke's working and now let's get the flavor out. So we've kind of changed that timeline. So in a couple of months, we'll likely be rolling out the orange. We don't have the name for it yet. We're still workshopping that. Everybody felt really good about Lime Time. So then we're like, oh, we got to have something good because Lime Time's good. So I think that's probably the first thing you'll see is new flavor come out. My entertainment background is probably the next phase when you're talking about the steps. So again, I'd practiced in the music industry for like 17 years. And I've got a couple of clients. I won't name them, but they're great clients. One of which is, I would say, is like the Michael Jackson of youth sports. And I tell him this and he laughs. But you go to pretty much any baseball game and anybody from like 8 years old to 13, I would say half the kids are walking out to one of his songs. And it's been interesting because a lot of people would hear his music on Dude Perfect, like YouTube trick shots and stuff like that. But he does a lot in the sports world. So he does a lot of hype songs for professional teams. So a lot of these kids are going to be familiar with him. And we've been exploring he's got an album release coming up that we're going to do an exclusive flavor for him in conjunction to the album
That's
release. Cool. And there's going to be a lot of kind of cool things that we're both going to collaborate on. So I would say that's probably the next, like, oh, we got this bullet that, is coming. And we're all excited about that. But, in terms of Nuke, I mean, it sounds so ridiculous. Honestly, we're not for everybody. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
looking for like, we want to be in every gas station and every grocery store and all that. That's just, it's not a reality. It's not a delusion that I've got. I really just want it in the hands of, health conscious parents and health conscious kids and, people that just care about that stuff, especially in the sports world. So our retailers and our retailer partners, we've intentionally kept very small, but it's growing, and I would be a fool to think it's not going to grow more with each flavor, and the regions are going to continue to grow. So I can't say, hey, coach, this is the exit that I want 5 years from now. I have no idea.
Sure.
I can't think that far ahead because I'm a slow mover, but it's just one. I just want to keep building it, and I want to keep kind of putting it in the hands of people that care about it and are passionate. It feels like the consumers right now that we do have are just excited to have it. So I'm not looking at an end game and an exit, but we're just going to keep building it. Keep kind of putting the new flavor profiles and keep kind of pushing our alignment. And we've got some interesting things cooking with some schools and sports teams. And it's been an interesting ride so far.
Man, that's awesome. And it's the very similar to the kids you're trying to highlight, right? It's just the like head down. We're just going to keep this thing going. We're just going to keep working. And kind of roll with it as it comes to us.
It's one thing that I've learned is how much pressure schools get sometimes for healthier options. So we have kind of emerged as like a healthier option for people. So our alignments with schools are very strategic. It's not one that it's like, hey, let's just go gangbusters and work with anybody and everybody. We can't do that. They can't do that for contractual reasons. We can do some strategic things that seem to be work and that schools can check the box and teams can check the box of like, hey, we want a healthier alternative for our athletes and our kids. Check. So we've been able to kind of step in and do that.
Yeah. And I think that's right on brand with, kind of what you guys, like I said, what you guys are trying to put a light on, but then also how you guys operate. It's a very
Yeah.
seamless transition between like you guys operating like this, and then you have the kids that you're highlighting that also operate like that. And it's this thing that kind of builds on top of each other.
We have It was not intentional, but when we came up with the name and it was nothing unnecessary, keep the energy. We really were dying in the ditch over the nothing unnecessary. Like everything we do has to serve a purpose,
Love
period.
it.
So it is just for us, we're going to keep putting out clean stuff, only ingredients that are necessary. For the kids that we work with, it is look, you keep grinding, you keep putting in the work day after day when no one's really paying attention. You keep doing that, we'll be supportive. We'll provide the sweat, okay? You're doing the work, we'll provide the sweat. I mean, this is kind of how we've built it. It's just like
Hmm.
nothing unnecessary. You guys keep grinding, we'll keep doing our thing here too.
Yeah. And I love it. And I love it. So I
Thank you.
think it's nukehydration.com, right? Is
Yep,
where
Nuke
people can get
Hydration.
their,
Yep, NUKEhydration.com. Yeah, we have a
sweet.
subscription service, and then if you just want to taste it and don't want to subscribe, get that too. You can just buy a case, and then we'll be kind of posting where you can find us locally, depending on the area that's starting to grow. But again, that's not anything we want to go crazy with. We like to keep our alignments to people that we work with and that we know, and they've been supportive since the beginning.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
nukehydration.com, scoop your stuff up. Nuke has been awesome with us and giving the staff meeting a promo code to help you out to get your first case delivered to you. Staff meeting 10. I'll put it in the show notes. It is personally, it's a drink that, we had our first case and we smoked through it because even my like tiny munchkins, I'm like, yeah, for sure. Like I don't care giving them this. They think it's juice, but I'm not like upset about giving it to them, right? Like a lot of juice are kind of like, let's water it down. Let's like make sure this isn't, but they crushed it. My wife crushed it. I crushed it. It was one of those things like
perfect.
I look in there to go, I was going to work one night and I went and opened the fridge to get a bottle. And I was like, where's the last bottle at? She's like, oh, I drank it at lunch today. I'm like, dang it. Like, so it is good. It's not something that we're sitting here kind of on the same lines as you guys is
Yeah.
the people we want to partner with. It's not something that, hey, we just need to put names on our podcast. I'm like, that's not necessarily where we're at, fortunately, and it's not how we want to
Yeah.
operate. So the stuff that we're gonna put out there and tell people to use is stuff that myself and Dan both like, and that's I can say personally, George, not staff meeting podcast. I can say George and his family are big fans of the Nuke. So I
Thank
appreciate
you.
everything you've done so far. I'm glad you were able to hop on with us today, and look forward to keep working together in the future. You got anything you want to close with?
No, I appreciate it. No, it's you guys have been good to us too. So let's keep this rocking and then we'll keep providing some good hydration.
I love it. I love it. Appreciate y'all. Thanks for listening.